So hello guys, this is the first episode of what we're going to be doing some sort of song tactics discussion, because right now what we are seeing is that there's going to be a lot of changes, especially for the new, you would even call it the new addition to the game. So right here now I have here with me Defeng from Anything But Once.
Hello.
Introduce yourself, Defeng.
Hello.
So Defeng here, I know, is a long-time Lannister player.
Yes.
I've played him before when I went to Singapore last time, and we had a Lannister mirror. So tell us a bit about your experience with the game, and what other games do you play, and a bit about yourself.
Okay, so I actually started with Warhammer Fantasy, and that was around way back in 2002. And I was playing with Raymond and a few other guys. Then that's why we formed the group Anything But Once. Then from there, we went on to other games like 40k. I started playing Armada when it came out. Then we also played games like Star Wars Legion, Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I also play board games with other people. So basically, we like to play games, especially tabletop games. For ASOIAF, when it first came out, I did not play it. But when the guys started talking about maybe starting this game, immediately I wanted to play Lannister. That's why I shared a starter with other people. And I've been playing Lannister for like 3 years now. Yeah, but I also do play all the other factions, with the exception of the Night's Watch.
So it seems that we have been sort of in this wargaming strategy bit for quite some time. I know Defeng is also a very competitive player, so this is a good sort of session, I guess, to throw around ideas of what we think will be some of the more interesting changes, especially from the lenses of a competitive player. So this is the first topic that we're going to have today. Well, in this episode is that we're going to talk about Lannisters. So this is perfect because both me and Defeng are Lannister players. So
Yes.
we'll have I guess some of the best insights for you guys who's listening to this about some of the changes to Lannisters and what you should be looking out for. So the first unit that we're going to be talking about is the Humble Guardsman. So
Yes.
Humble Guardsman here, basically in the previous version, the only major differences between the old version and the new version is that there is an additional dice at the last rank of the new version. So now it's 654 instead of 653. And also, the rest of the stats remain the same. Speed 4, hitting at 4+, armor at 3+, and a classic Lannister morale of 7. But of course, the biggest differences that we have between this version and the previous version is the change in supremacy.
Yes.
So, I guess let's go straight to talk about what the new supremacy is. Do you like the new supremacy, Defeng?
For me, actually, no. Because of the fact that you can only trigger it once a turn. So, I feel that if you gang up on the Guardsman in the new format, it will not be quite as painful because the opponent knows that subsequently on the second, third, or fourth attack, the Guardsman cannot trigger supremacy at all.
And that basically the existing uses for units of supremacy, as we like to use, is just to throw away those into the enemy, give them the first alpha strike, especially with knights, and then see an opponent die from the supremacy rolls.
Yes. So
yeah, go ahead.
with this change in the supremacy, you only trigger it once a turn, so it makes the unit susceptible to being focus fire on it.
Oh, focus fire. Yeah. You're getting punched multiple times.
Yes. So this one you have to think about which is the attack, whether it's coming or not, to trigger your supremacy on.
So yes, I think what the developer and designer is trying to do is to make it seem that there is a bit of like skill when you try to use this new Lannister supremacy. Because number one, it is an order. However, what is interesting of this version of Supremacy compared to the previous one is that it's auto success. You will have games where you never trigger Supremacy, right?
Yes.
Like, you fail it by 1, you fail it by 2, and even if you put in like a happy 3, you still like fail the morale test. But with this new Supremacy, even though it's only one time, it will always trigger.
So I feel that previously we always bring the guard captain, and that it will be one of the changes that we'll be talking about later. But I think you can bring it here because actually it ties in very well with the new Supremacy. The previous version of the guard captain and the guardsman is that you bring in the guard captain so that you know exactly when you will trigger Supremacy on the unit that you want. Because if you fail the the panic test, you can always trigger the guard captain's order so that you trigger Supremacy on attacking unit. Sometimes you don't even have to do it, but you have that assurance that on that attack that you really want to trigger Supremacy on, you can do it.
That is an interesting, segue a bit to the new guard captain. So you're right that the previous build of the Guardsman plus guard captain is just turn 1, you march it to the objective, and then turn 2 until the game ends, they just sit at the objective and hurt the opponent with the order and Supremacy.
I still think that the new guard captain is very important now for the guardsman because it allows the morale, the panic. When you fail your panic test, the maximum number of wins that you take is actually 1 to 2 instead of the new 2 to 3, which is also even better, 50% discount from the current 2 to 4.
It's actually 0 to 2 because the new panic test is D3. So if you roll a 1, you take 0 wounds.
Yeah, so it actually makes it so good that why don't you bring the guard captain inside the guardsman unit? Because the defense is already so good at 3+. And as you can see from all the previews is that there is a removal of abilities from units to make it less killing.
And Lannister Guardsmen with their natural stats of 3+ armor, and now with the guard captain makes them a morale of 6 when they do a panic test. It will make them stay on the battlefield like much longer than before even.
Yeah, so you can actually camp on one objective for a longer period of time. So this makes the 6 points Lannister Guardsman and Guard Captain combination even better now.
Yep. So basically, the Guardsman and Guard Captain role from the previous version of the game to the new version of the game doesn't really change. They're still there to basically tank the objective. However, the style of tanking is slightly different from previous one, where previous one it's just you hold on to the objective, and then you can tank that one panic test that you don't want to make, so you then hold on to the objective. Except for this one, with the new guard captain, they basically decrease the amount of panic tests that you'll receive from 1 to 3 to 0 to 2. So even though that the new Supremacy doesn't really work against multiple attacks, but this new guard captain makes it sure that even though that you've taken multiple attacks, the damage you've taken from the panic test is reduced, and also you might actually success the panic test.
Yeah. So I think that the new Guardsman and Guard Captain combination is actually able to see more play in the new format.
Yep, definitely. I think it's a bit hard pressing for me to not actually bring like one unit of a Guardsman plus Guard Captain in any of my lists going forward. And even now, they're even like a decent commander bunker, with their defensive capabilities, etc.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about the other revealed unit for Lannister, and this is it was quite a popular choice even back then for like commander bunkers, for some of those commanders that they really seen a resurgence in play after they got buffed of the attack, and it was quite popular when you're playing like Tywin Commander, Mountain Commander, Jaime Commander, anything not Tyrion basically. The Lannister Halberdiers. So why don't you take us away with the Lannister Halberdiers, Defeng?
So previously they buffed out the Lannister Halberdiers because it was a unit that saw very little play in the first year of first 2 years of our Lannisters part in the tournament. So they made it 8 dice in the front, first 2 ranks, and then after that, subsequently we go down to the last rank is 4 attack. So currently, they kept the last dice at 4, but they reduced the first 2 to 7, down from 8. So it's actually back to its original 7. So the stats remains almost the same. The main change is in the order set for charge. Now you can actually set for charge when you are being attacked from the flank. So this is another very important change, because the previous iteration of set for charge, usually what happens is that the opponent will send in 1 unit, maybe a wolf, to charge you from the side, and this will forbid you from using set for charge at all subsequently.
Ah, yes, very sad. Where halberdier basically can be played around.
So usually, one of the combination that people use against the halberdiers past time, like from the Night's Watch player, was to use the Ghost and Jon Snow combo. So Jon Snow will be in the Swan Brothers. Ghost will activate together with him, so because it's for the bond. So Ghost will move and charge from the side. Then the Swan Brothers will charge from the front. Because in the second charge, the Swan Brothers will not have set for charge triggered at all.
Yep. And that was basically the natural weakness of the halberdiers, especially against more mobile army. We're talking about, well, Stark is the premier example, but you also have Targaryen. Even Nightwatch has the capacity to make a run from the halberdiers. So even if you have, say, like halberdiers standing on even like one side of the battlefield, they'll still find ways to get, make them go around the halberdiers.
Yes.
And that was one of the biggest weakness of halberdiers. Now with the new set for charge, that weakness is gone. They cannot be flanked. It's awesome.
Yes. So last time they throw away the Dire Wolf to attack from the side, because the for 3+ save of the Dire Wolf is actually quite easy for it to pass the attacks that's coming in.
Yep. And even like, so right now, I think we're seeing that the global reduction of the dice actually benefited in the halberd in some ways, because they were already hitting at 4+ anyway. So it's not like we're seeing, a reduced performance of the halberdiers, but it's just that everyone else has reduced dices as well. And also one of the things that I'd like to mention is that there is some sort of interaction between the halberdiers and the new sources. So the trigger for order set for charge, it's actually when this unit is successfully charged from the front or flank. So before the dices are even rolled, this order is triggered. So the sources cannot use their nullify defensive ability on the halberdiers, because it happens first.
Yes. For the halberdiers, they come out being the unit that benefits most from the current changes that we have seen, because they don't really, that loss of 1 die is not really important in the long run, but they still maintain everything else, especially sundering with the halberds. And for their own order, it becomes even better, because now they can trigger it from the flank.
Yep. So halberdier is a clear winner of this new patch, because of the global reduction in, I guess, attacking power from what we've seen. Halberdier with their 4+ attack stats is not exactly affected a lot. Yeah, and I think like halberdier would be one of the premier commander bunkers for Lannister because of their speed 5. And now you just put them on the center of the battlefield, even unsupported, they can still trigger their set for charge if they get Alpha Strike first.
So if you remember my previous battle report with Raymond, I placed the Enforcer inside the halberdiers to tempt the berserkers to charge me. So now, as long as you can see the berserkers, even if they are going to be charging you from the flank, you might actually want to consider taunting them to come and charge you. So the halberdiers now becomes a unit that does very well being placed on the flank, because even if you get charged from the flank, you still get to do your order.
That's a very interesting combo. So yeah, I haven't really played with the enforcers because we still don't receive our attachment boxes yet, unfortunately
Oh,
here. But
I
yes,
see.
one of the things that we will try definitely in our next battle report as well. I'm gonna be going back to my Lannister route because of all these changes. So now let's continue on to the next, the last unit to be revealed for Lannister, which is Pyromancers. So
Yeah,
tell me, how many times have you played Pyromancers in the previous version of the games?
2 times.
Wow, 0 times for me. even even when I'm playing just a casual game, I've never actually played Pyromancers. They were unfortunately that bad back then. We've had a few players here, Albert, who likes to use Pyromancer with Gregor, and
Uh-huh.
it was fun, but it just dies really really quickly. So
Uh,
let's talk
they
about.
are the natural answer to Rose Knights.
Oh my god, that's true. That is true.
I've seen Rose Knights being wiped out just by Pyromancers alone.
Yeah, because they had fishes and the auto wound, so they bypassed like the two defensive capabilities of the Rose Knights almost in
Yes.
one attack. So let's talk about the Pyromancers. So the Pyromancers still retain their attack stats of 774, hitting of 3+, which is something unique for a 7-point unit. And they still retain basically their Throne Wildfire version as well. Some people noted that they lost the ability of that when you roll. After completing. Oh, they still have that. Sorry. After completing
Yeah.
this attack, for each attack die roll of 1, this unit suffers 1 wound. And
But it's now triggered on the range attack as well.
so it's a slight nerf to Pyromancers. Okay, yep, got it. And then they still have fishes. So not only that it auto wounds the opponent, it bypasses the defense dice. It still also has fishes. And well, of course, they have really, really bad defensive stats at 6+ armor. And is the morale buff from
It's
7
the
to
morale
6?
buff.
Okay.
The morale buff.
Strange for a unit of basically old man, but okay. But the
It takes some nerves of. It takes some nerves of steel just to be holding a bottle of wildfire
I
in front of
suppose.
you.
Yeah, I mean, like, just one little shake and they go and burn themselves on. And, okay, some people were complaining that why does Pyromancer have horrific visage? And I think Defeng just mentioned the idea of why you should be afraid of someone who's not afraid of holding a literal bomb, a Molotov bomb, in the Middle Ages. And we could talk slightly about the new horrific visage. So the new horrific visage reads, each time an enemy performs a melee attack on this unit, before resolving that attack, that enemy suffers 1 panic test with -1 to their roll for each remaining rank in this unit. So the first time somebody engages the Pyromancer in melee, they take a panic test at -3, which is not bad. But what do you think of that?
I feel that the Pyromancers is another winner in this current format because of horrific visage. And it's actually quite interesting to see how this new horrific visage does it trigger down also to the potent blackguards and the free folks, the followers of bone.
Yep. I had my recent battle report. I think I was reporting on Rattle Shirt in a unit of Follower of Bones, and they practically killed the entire army of Targaryen with their combination of horrific visage and cut them down. I don't know if Sandor remains the same in the new version. I don't think so. But if we can see like Sandor plus Pyromancer, then you can take -3 and then an extra 2 damage from the cut them down. Would be interesting.
Yes. So actually, it does try to push the Lannisters back to our roots that we are the army that doesn't fade away very fast because of high armor, and we are the ones that bring in the vicious and the morale bombs.
Yeah, that seems to be the recurring theme of Lannister, which was being pushed quite strongly. And then, of course, we have the other Lannister sub-theme of Fate, which is the complete opposite of that. But I think it's true that these 3 new units that were, the 2 new units that were revealed basically fits in the old Lannister playstyle of we are scary, we will debuff your morale, and you'll take punish for that.
Unfortunately, I feel that Mountainsman is going to be somewhat nerfed. So I'm guessing that this will place the Pyromancers as the 7-point unit to be the only infantry unit at the moment that can roll at 3+.
Yeah. I think I have every reason to believe that Mountain Men will be reduced to 4+. I don't see any way that even our dear old I think Swarm Brothers is even like hitting at 4+ now.
Yes,
Yeah,
4+.
even Swarm Brothers. Oh no, Swarm Brothers hit at 3+. Berserker sits on 4+.
Yeah, Berserkers are 4+.
Yeah.
So because of that, I think that as the premier unit that the Lannisters have, the Pyromancers are the ones that will be rolling at 3+ to hit, and horrific visage will make them a pain to fight against. Even so, the whole thing that I'm looking at as a whole in ASOIAF is that I think they really want to bring in the idea that you need combined arms, because range is the long range will be the answer to the Pyromancers.
I think the reliance on, because a lot of these abilities only triggers, not supremacy, but horrific visage triggers on melee. So and the new agile as well is never mind, Counter-Strike. The new Counter-Strike only triggers when melee, but a lot of punishment happens on melee. For range, there's less of a punishment. And so there will be like some sort of your classic hammer and anvil approach with ASOIAF.
But okay, so this will make the crossbows actually a unit that you might feel will be a must bring, because there are so many abilities that trigger only on melee attacks.
Yep. Do you think crossbow will be reduced to 4+?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because okay, I can see where we were going with this. So Pyromancer is sort of like the mid-range Shui / melee guys, and you have the crossbow hitting at 4+ from the range. Okay, could be interesting. We'll see what the developments of these within the next couple of weeks are. The next segment that we'll be talking about is the revealed NCU. Currently only one that we know, which is our favorite incest princess, Cersei. So, just a bit of disclaimer. Cersei used to be like one of my favorite Lannister NCU, especially back then when we were playing like in the tournaments, like it was 1.4, right? And then Cersei Bomb was just the bane of every crossbowman in existence.
Yes.
But now, long gone is the day of Cersei Lannister giving -2 to morale test, which I think it's quite curious considering a lot of Lannister's gimmick still relies on basically enemy making morale tests or panic tests. And now Cersei Lannister now reads, playing the game, Cersei begins the game with 2 order tokens. When Cersei claims a zone, you may remove 1 order token from her. If you do, perform the following. If you control Crown, search your tactics deck or discard pile for 1 Hear Me Roar and put it in your hand. If you control Money Back, search your tactics deck or discard pile for 1 Subjugation of Power card and add it to your hand, shuffle your tactics deck. So one thing that I would like to say is that you can have someone else claiming the Crown and Money Back, and then Cersei can just claim any zone and then she'll get both effects. What do you think of this new Cersei?
Actually, I think that in removing the -2 from her, they actually gave her a very good ability, which is the ability to return cards to our hand. So I believe that the Subjugation of Power is a replacement for Wealth of the Rock.
Yeah, rip Wealth of the Rock. 2018, 2021.
So the new Cersei actually, because the reason why we saw Cersei being played less is because it becomes hard for the Lannister player to try and get the right cards into our own hands to be used at the right time. Because Cersei actually combos very well with Hear Me Roar. But with the new 10 limit, I believe that it's going to be a little bit even harder for us to really try to draw as many cards as we can to try to cycle through our cards. But now Cersei allows you, as some of the other factions already have, to go and search for a specific card that we want.
I'm surprised that searching cards is never a Lannister thing. That was what was quite interesting for me. The first tutor that we have in this game is actually Sansa. I was thinking that Lannister should have like a tutor ability, right? We are sort of the plotting faction, the whole tactic blah 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 faction. But okay, this is quite fitting with the Lannister playstyle. But of course, we cannot talk Cersei without talking about the new card, which is Subjugation of Power.
Yes.
So would you like to talk about the Subjugation of Power?
So the new Subjugation of Power replaces the old Wealth of the Rock, and it reads: when an enemy combat unit activates, that enemy performs one morale test. For each zone you control among the crown and the moneybags, they suffer -2 to their roll. On the failure, until the end of the turn, they cannot be targeted by friendly tactics cards and lose all abilities. So the new Subjugation of Power, it is like a card that actually shuts down the enemy's abilities. So this is a card that is totally talking about control, which is the Lannister thing.
Yep, and we've seen in the sort of the reveal article about control is that the designer of the game wants to have only certain factions or commander to have the control tag written on them. As it stands right now, most faction has ways to control, and Lannister gimmick was only counterplot, and then 2 other factions have counterplot. So I don't know anymore what the Lannister gimmick was.
When we have our supremacy, Targaryens get supremacy.
Oh yeah, and then we get and then that's taken away. But yeah, I mean this is interesting because now the Lannister have on-demand with some caveat of dice rolls, ways to blank the enemy. Lannister had Tywin, which I'm not sure how he will be changed or whether he will be changed, because if he's not changed, then on-demand blanking is still a very powerful ability. And we've seen that Walder is no longer Walder, so no neutral faction can have any capacity to remove an ability. So card like Subjugation of Power might be, one of the only ways for any faction to blank a unit.
It feels a little bit like Pit Mutiny. So I believe that probably Pit Mutiny will be another card that will be changed quite a bit, because Pit Mutiny shuts down the attachments. Yep. Whereas Subjugation of Power shuts down the unit.
Does it say also attachment also for Subjugation?
No.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
So one is a blank for attachment, one is a blank for the unit.
Yeah, because it talks about when the enemy combat unit activates. So I believe that in the previous articles, Michael Chanel did talk about if the card does not mention attachments and other cards being attached to a unit, those will not be affected at all.
Yep. It's a very specific blanking of certain things. So if it says unit, only unit. If it says attachment, it says attachment, etc. So yeah, I mean, I know some people doesn't really like that you have to make a test in order to make to blank the ability. But we've played in a game where Pate Mutiny was, I guess, one of our meme cards. It's just like, oh, I'll use Pate Mutiny to kill a wolf. Let's see if that happens.
One of the most triggering points that a Lannister can do against the enemy is to kill the last remaining wolf with a Pate Mutiny.
Oh yeah, man. That with Cersei bag and panic token, it can be reality. And I think I've won like some weird games where I actually sniped the wolf using Pate Mutiny. But yeah, Subjugation of Power is a new blanking card. I think the loss to Wealth of the Rock is a bit painful, because it used to be like one of our premier defensive cards. But I think, again, the identity for Lannister is that it's control. The way to dictate control in this game is making sure that you don't have any abilities, or make sure that you don't get to do the things that you want to do. And Wealth of the Rock being a +1 defense and block D3 if you control money maybe doesn't fit with that identity quite well. So I can understand why Wealth of the Rock is taken away from Lannister, but
we have to see the decision to take away. Sorry, the decision to take away Wealth of the Rock also ties in with the idea that why do we need Wealth of the Rock when armies are generally now less killy?
That's a good point.
If they cannot remove my unit in one attack, then I really don't see the need for me to really dig for that wealth.
Yeah, and again with the new maximum hand size of 5, holding Wealth of the Rock in your hand might be like a blank card that you might want to recycle for something else. So yeah, that is interesting. Again, a bit of mixed feelings about these Wealth of the Rock changes, but I can see the argument for both sides. And going to our last segment of today's tactic chat, talking about Lannister, is the new revealed Jaime Lannister. It's technically not a reveal, but it's in the rulebook, and Jaime commander card is there alongside one new card. So now Jaime Lannister commander says attached unit gains agile. Enemies suffer -1 to hit when attacking this unit, and counter strike. When this unit is attacked with a melee attack, for each miss the attacker suffers 1 hit. For the cards, we've got Kingslayer's Renown, which is the card that we already know. Kingslayer's Prowess, which is the current order of Jaime Lannister, but then turned into a card. And then one last card that we don't know, which is Kingslayer's Infamy. Jaime has been changed, I think, 3 times already?
Is this his third change?
Yeah, this is his third change. Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I think like even like the developer still wasn't sure of how they would like to put Jaime in. But I think this new version of Jaime might actually see combat for the first time in a while. What do you think?
I think that it really depends on the tactics cards that he brings to the battlefield. Because his abilities by themselves only allows his own unit to be it only benefits his own unit, agile and counter strike. Then it really depends on the tactics cards that he brings to the battlefield, whether we feel that he suits that unit. Maybe in Clash of Kings, the new Clash of Kings, because only the commander's unit comes back into the battlefield. So again, Kingsguard is another unit that is very good in Clash of Kings, even though they only have 8 wounds. But because that unit of the Baratheon banners make them very good. So if there are any changes to the Kingsguard, then maybe Jaime Lannister as a commander for that game mode becomes more prominent.
I've seen also like in some of the in the new game modes, there are heavy emphasis on field commanders. So you do want your commander to be sitting pretty in, I guess, a unit, and it just tries to fend off attacks, and they score 2 points every turn. And I believe Jaime and Halberdier will do just that.
Especially counter strike.
Oh, imagine Jaime in a unit of Blackguard. Oh, disgusting.
But you have to see the changes to the Blackguards as well.
That's true. But as it stands right now, Jaime in Halberdier or even Jaime in Guardsman is a good candidate. Even if you want to meme a bit, Jaime in Pyromancer. You get agile, so they're -1 to hit. They took horrific visage, and then if they miss, they take a counter strike. So if you wanna meme a bit, you can put it in Pyromancer. But yeah, even with like just 3 revealed units and 1 revealed commander, we've already been seeing some interesting lists that I do want to try on the tabletop. And I think I would like to see. I would like to play Jaime. I really would like to play Jaime here, but maybe just with like his old cards.
2 units of Pyromancers, 1 with Jaime Lannister, 1 with the Jaqen H'ghar. So when Jaime Lannister dies, Jaqen H'ghar can undo his face and becomes a new Jaime.
It was Jaime all along. All right, so I think that's it for our talk this evening. Any closing thoughts for Lannister with just the stuff that was revealed today? Oh, within the last couple of weeks.
I do see that there is a change in the concept of what we are supposed to bring onto the battlefield. I think that besides the Baratheons, we are still the only faction that has a 3+ save for a 5-point unit. And going forward with armies being less QD, I think that this 3+ save is going to help a lot. So definitely we are going to see a change in the list that we are building. So like I mentioned earlier, combined arms is something that is very important. So I'm actually quite excited to see what changes we are going to see for the Knights of the Casterly Rock.
That will be the biggest question, actually, because Knights of Casterly Rock is our premier attacking unit. Being a Lance Cavalry with 3+ armor, save, and supremacy, and also Lance, we are interested in seeing like how they would be played. Because in the previous, I guess, version of the game, it's just the first thing that you'll put in your army is a Knight of Casterly Rock, even 2 sometimes, because
Yes.
they're that good.
Because of the movement that they bring onto the battlefield, being outmaneuvered is actually mainly the name of the game for A Song of Ice and Fire.
That's why Baratheon is low tier. Cough cough.
No, but I feel that Baratheon has the ability to stay in the battlefield because of their abilities. Cough cough, roast knights, cough cough.
Yep, but I understand. Like, especially in a game where you only have 4 to 5 units at most on a battlefield, having a unit that can basically outmaneuver and outpace the other opposing unit is a huge asset to the game. And of course, especially we're talking about this is cavalry, because cavalry gains an innate movement of 5. So immediately they're already way above their infantry counterparts.
Yes. Except the cavalry, our knights don't really do well as part of a sustained assault. So once they charge in, they will need to break the enemy quickly, or else they find themselves locked in combat.
Yep, that's always been the trouble with knights.
Mm.
You charge in, opponent will take multiple supremacy, and then they just die. All right. I believe this concludes our talk for the Lannister changes. So just for timestamp purposes, that today is the 6th of January 2021. So basically, if you're hearing it by around this time, or hopefully we'll have this video uploaded within the next couple of days, there won't be any big changes. Otherwise, me and Defeng will probably have to re-record this entire segment. But yes, thank you so much for having for coming to us here. We'll have this video uploaded to my channel and also your channel. So if you guys are watching it from Wargames.ID, feel free to also like, share, and subscribe. If you guys are watching it in Anything But Once, go ahead, Defeng.
Right. Please like and subscribe as well. Thank you for having me. It's been fun talking to you.
Yep, always good to talk with some other competitive Lannister players. And I'll see you guys very soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.